Savitri legend, as we know, is a story told in the Mahabharata, in the one Parv, when Pandavas have been duped, cheated. Uh, we can say by Shakuni, we can equally say by adverse fate. And they are banished into the forest. And in the course of that, Yudhishthir, he is a sattvic person. So instead of feeling sorrow about his own plight, just as any sattvic person, he is moved by the plight of his wife, Draupadi Panchali. So he asks the sage that, is there anyone ever in the world who has suffered like her? And therein he recounts the story of Savitri to give him not only hope, but to give him the key to mastering fate. Now it's very interesting that the story of Savitri and Draupadi do have many parallels. Both are born out of Yagya. And in both cases we see their husbands have been banished from the kingdom. Pandavas, because they have lost the game of dice, and Satyavan's father, Satyavan, because his father has been living in exile. And both of them accept it and move along with them. But at the same time, Savitri's fate is even more deadly, if you may say so, because she has chosen a man who has just 1 year to live and love and die. So, Sage Markandeya in 300 slokas recounts this whole story. And the story in Mahabharata begins with Ashupati. Once Yudhishthira has asked, King Sage starts with Ashupati in far back times, who performed a Yagya to have a progeny. Now it's very interesting to start with that Yagya. Yagya in ancient times was the process and yoga was the result. They were two things which went together. So Yagya was the means to arrive at yoga. Yoga is union with the divine, and Yagya was a means to refine, purify, uplift. So it comes from Agni, comes from the root Ag, to move forward. So all the energies that are given to us, everything, if we keep refining, keep purifying, keep uplifting by the fire of aspiration, they will eventually reach their divine origin. So this is the whole idea of Yagya. So he also performs a Yagya, but a very long Yagya over 18 years. And then whom does he is trying to propitiate? The creatrix consciousness. In the Mahabharata, she is the goddess Savitri. So goddess Savitri is the power of sun. She is later in Puranic legends regarded as the consort of Brahma, Saraswati. Saraswati is one aspect of Savitri. But in the original story, she is the consort of sun, the power of sun. And as a result of his tapasya, so again tapasya is concentration of energies towards a spiritual endeavor. So tapasya has nothing to do with how we are outwardly sitting apparently, what kind of dress we are outwardly wearing. Of course, we should wear nice dress. No, not. But it's not about that. It's about all the energies of being. Where are they concentrated? They are concentrated toward the divine, then it is tapasya. It could be any energy, as the mother account, tapasya of love, tapasya of power, tapasya of knowledge, and tapasya of beauty. So Ashupati is engaged in an unprecedented tapasya. As a result of it, Savitri, who is none else but the divine mother out of whom Adityas, the great gods, are born. And she says that I know already what you are seeking. In ancient times, the kings sought a progeny. This progeny was not meant for my vansha, but it was meant for those who can fulfill the dharma. So king had to live a life according to dharma. There are a lot of things enjoined upon the king. So who will extend this dharma into the empire and after his departure? So she grants, interestingly, that I will come. So, we talk about feminism, but India has its own truth and idea of feminism. Our feminism is not do what I feel like. Our feminism is when a woman lives by the highest dharma, which perhaps only a woman can live, and by the truth of her heart, That becomes the feminism of India. So she comes, and as we know that the rest is history. When she comes of age, Ashupati asks her to go and choose a husband, and she goes far and wide till finally she chooses Satyavan. How does she choose? There is no almanac, no panchang, no horoscope. So she chooses by the truth in her heart. She knows here is the one, and they both agree. After staying for a few days together, they come back. She comes back, Satyavan stays, and then she narrates the whole thing to her father Ashupati, and his wife Malvi. She now initially is happy, but just then Narad the sage arrives. So as I was saying yesterday, the gods can crystallize in a human form, but they can't stay for long in that form. Because after a while they tend to dissolve. This is one of the problems of the whole yoga of transformation, but I won't touch upon that, because supramental creation without the basis of material form, if it is established here, it will be like a superimposition of a higher state, and it will stay for some time, then it will just vanish, because there will be nothing in the base to hold it. So Narad comes and he makes a prophecy. And prophecies are meant to hasten what is destined. So he prophesies that Satyavan is going to die. After 1 year, Savitri is steadfast in her choice, but as the day approaches of the fated event, Savitri performs again she performs a Yagya for 3 days, rather a vrat, more than Yagya. In her case, it's a vow. For 3 days, she remains, as the story goes, standing in one posture. But this standing has to be in one sthiti. And this 3 days is very interesting, because as Sri Ramakrishna says, the mother and daughter says, in Sri Aurobindo's own life, in 3 days one can realize the divine. But one doesn't have to stand, one has to be sthit. Stand, sthit. All of them come from the same root. To be fixed in one particular movement, in one situation, in one inner condition. The condition being seeking for the highest truth. So 3 days, 3 nights are quite tangible and interesting. A mystic truth is being revealed to us. So then, of course, Yama arrives. Yama is the restrainer. There's Yama. So what does he do? He says, human life, everybody has to live within certain limits. So human life also has certain limits. A brief hour to live and love. That's it. Little bit of happiness. And human beings most of the time are quite happy with it. So but here is an unusual situation, because it's an untimely death. So she follows Yama, and Yama knows she is not an ordinary woman. She is rooted deeply in yoga. So Yama can't send the Yamadut. He himself comes, because they can't draw near her. And she follows Yama, and there is a dialogue that ensues. So Yamaraj is also Dharmaraj. So she convinces him that what you are doing to my husband is not dharma. Because he says, well, this is fate. It is written in the book, I am just following the book, and that's how I have to go. He says, yes, but dharma is greater. So slowly there is a dialogue, and at the end, she tricks him into granting her a boon of many offsprings, and he says yes. And he says, how will I have the offsprings without my husband? Now Yama is caught in a trap. So, because if he says, no, it doesn't matter. He is not a modernist Yama living in some, modern society. He says, what do you need, husband, to have an offspring? So he says, no, yes, you have a point, valid point. So she says, yes, so you have to grant him back. So he grants him back with the boon that he will live for 400 years. So people often ask that, where is Satyavan? It was never meant, physical immortality was not that was attempted that time. According to the age, Mahabharata is, of course, we know, it happened in the Dwapar age, and before that the Treta and Satyug. It is recounted as a story in the Vedic cycle. So Vedic age people lived for 1,000 years. So 400 years he would live, meaning thereby he would fulfill. The purpose of life was to fulfill the dharma. Dharma had nothing to do with religion as we understand today and rituals. It was to lead a life of the truth as it is unfolding within oneself. That was Dharma. So he would live a life of Dharma and then he will come back. So this is how the story ends, very happily. And in childhood, this used to be there in Indian homes. I'm sure still people have it. And in our home, my home where I grew up, there used to be this puja. And at the end, there was something very interesting that as it happened in the life of Savitri and Satyavan, may it happen in everybody's life. So basically, even in the story, there is the hint of a collective realization. So all these are hint. So it's like a project that the divine has initiated in far back times, whose final consummation and culmination comes now. So that's how we can say there is a mystic thread that runs from Savitri of the Vedic cycle and Savitri, the divine mother, who is here upon earth in this age, whom we know as Mother Meera, and she's come to fulfill. It was initiated in that time. So in that project, again the divine mother has come and she fights against death by the power of love in her heart. And now the Divine Mother has come with this power of love, but the highest divine love which can transform. Transform whom? Not just human beings, but transform death, which is at the inconscient itself, which has to be transformed, without which at best we can have some supra-terrestrial moksha, but that's not what Sri Aurobindo wants. And here to release man's soul from the clutch of inconscience. So this is the story, but here in Savitri, the epic, Sri Aurobindo describes it from that ultimate bondage. But it's so beautifully described in Canto 1. I'll just read a passage. Sri Aurobindo, the master poet, normally when we think about inconscient, we conceive as there is nothing. At most our mind will say nothing which is teeming with possibilities, because the superconscient is hid there. So within inconscient is the first avatar who is hiding. Mother speaks about it. And of course, in the Rigveda, there is the legend of the 8th son of Aditi. So she has 7 sons who are going on the Godward path. But the 8th one she has cast into the womb of darkness, Martand. So he is Martand. He has to struggle against darkness and emerge and establish the kingdom of heaven upon earth. So we are all like, little bit of Martand, and we are, if I may say so, colonized from immortality. We are the spies of God in disguise. Only we, sometimes if a spy enters into the other domain, it may get too much identified with those guys. So that is our state. But we are his children who have colonized this world of mortality to ultimately lead it back towards immortality and truth and light and freedom. And in this divine project, this is the original divine project, the Divine Mother is with us. And through all the march of civilizations from that original story of Savitri Satyavan, man has struggled against death, seen the challenges of life, he has grown, become stronger, hopefully a little more wiser, and the divine comes again and again to lead us one step forward, till now the time has come for the fulfillment, final writing the finish line on this project. As we know, in one of the stories of Agastya and Lopamudra, they are discussing, this colloquy is described in the Vedas, that they are discussing how long we have to dig. Lopamudra asks him, just imagine. She is not asking, when will you make a house for me? So she is simply asking that how long we have to dig into the inconscient. And Agastya says, yes, because for years and years they have labored. So again we see Agastya Rishi, Sri Aurobindo is one of his, there's so many parallels between their lives, that's a whole subject. And we can again say that the project that was started in ancient Vedic times, even in Agastya Rishi's legend, the cattle, the herd of the sun of light, in Greek mythology also there, are held back into the folds of darkness. And they have to be released because they are necessary for the fullness of life. So they are riches of the caves. They are described in so many ways. Panis who have captured the treasures, the brigands who have robbed man of his true wealth and held it back in the caves. And they have to be released. So Agast Rishi does. According to one of these stories, he is the one who drinks the ocean, and then Indra breaks the cave. Before that, goddess Sarma goes and has a colloquy with these dangerous denizens of the deeps, that release the cows, release the light, go is light. And they say, no, 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 no. They rather try to offer her a nice push kind of place in their kingdom. They say, you come here. There you are only working an errand of Indra. If you come here, we'll give you a nice post and position. So you come here. But she finally says, no, no, you don't realize what's going to happen. And they don't listen, like, humanity always. They say, no, no, we'll see when the time comes. But finally, Indra strikes the thunderbolt. Thunderbolt itself is a wonderful story, but let me not get into it. And the cave split open and the cows, the light is released. It's basically the yoga that takes place in everyone's life, whoever is on this path of transformation. It is a yoga that takes place in the earth, where all the subconscious possibilities and the difficulties have to be released. At some point of time, we have to look at them and they have to get transformed. This is what Sri Aurobindo once in 40s wrote to one of the disciples, I think it was Kishore Gandhi, when he said, sir, things look so gloomy. He said, things are bad and may grow worse or worse than worst if that were possible. And then he says the reason is that just as in individual yoga, when the light touches the subconscious, world is engaged in a yoga, and when it touches the subconscious of the world, all the things that were buried are bound to come out. And man has to once again take a fresh look at them, to discard them, restore them, transmute them, which is what we see happening today all over the world, because now it's not just an individual yoga, but a Vishwa Yagya or a world yoga. But let's get back to the story. So Ashwapati is introduced to us in the book Savitri in the 3rd canto of the first book. So first 2 cantos, Sri Aurobindo, as in the great epic narrative, gives us the background. And in background, he cryptically reveals to us, almost that day the epiphany was disclosed. What is that story? Everybody's story is there is a tussle between darkness and light. All of us, all the time, are facing this one problem. It is the evolutionary conflict going on within us. And we may have a respite for some time, but sooner or later we have to keep making choices, pulled up or pulled down. So this is the story which is going on, but ultimately, as we know, light is victorious, dawn arrives, but there is a message of the dawn, and the message is that each new dawn, though is the same, yet is not the same, because the day has moved forward. Just like in the progression of avatars, each avatar is a manifestation of the divine, yet each avatar brings a new possibility upon earth. Otherwise, there will be no point in the avatars repeating endlessly. If the Gita is going to be the same, or Savitri is going to be the same repetition of the Gita in poetic terms, then it would be meaningless. So there is something new which comes. And that new is the new possibility. So in Savitri, the book, it starts with that night when once it gets over, dawn breaks. That is the day Satyavan must die. So already it's past midnight, possibly 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and Savitri is keeping awake, and while the whole creation is asleep in that part of the earth, and he describes through that about the inconscient. And that is something very beautiful, because I find a Hindi word very significant while describing it. And in our own state, you see, we suffer from a disease. Okay. That disease is abhav. Now, abhav is, there is something missing, something which wants to be, something we need, but we don't quite know what we need. So, abhav is not an absence. Abhav is an absence which is combined with a need, a longing. It is not that there is nothing. If there is nothing, it's okay. Then it's not abhav. It's like a stone. But abhav is there is something which needs to be there, which is not there. So Sri Aurobindo describes this so beautifully. And of course, since we are at Abhav, this abyss which creates the sense of Abhav, how much ever you put into it, this hunger is never satiated. That's how it is described, hunger, that is death. So only the divine love can eventually fulfill it. But that comes later. And we have this interesting line which describes the state of Abhav in the inconscient, the abyss, the symbol dawn. It was the hour before the gods awake. Grand opening. It's just like, the curtain is yet to be lifted. We know that something is happening. The stage is being set. So the stage is being set for a drama which is going to take place. But it's a divine drama across the path of the divine event. So right at the beginning we are being told that what's going to happen is a divine event. It's not just yet another story which is being told to us. And now you see how he describes Abhav. The huge, foreboding mind of night alone. So you see, he could have said mind of night. But there is foreboding. What a word. How Shivananda uses. Foreboding is when we are thinking something is going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. So it's a foreboding mind of night. It doesn't know. It is living in utter ignorance. And yet there is the sense that something is there. So this sense with which we suffer, that something is there, something that we need, something that we yearn, something that we long for, something whose absence makes us suffer, but we don't quite know what it is. So that is the state, alone in an unlit temple of eternity. Once again we see that this is the temple of eternity. But something is missing. It is that light which is yet to be lit there. Unlit temple of eternity. Lay stretched immobile upon silence marge. So marge literally is margins. So what is this silence which is lying there? There is something which is beyond this silence. It is an amazing word. So what is marge? So what is beyond this silence which is lying? As Shivananda will reveal to us in the Rigveda, this is an image that the Diti or the finite or the world of darkness is encapsulated. Surrounding it is the world of infinity and light. But the silence, the darkness knows it not. It's like the baby in the womb doesn't know. According to it, womb is the end, beginning and end of its life, like we think. But there is something beyond, and that is there. Almost unfelt, opaque, impenetrable. In the somber symbol of our eyeless muse, once again we see the sense of Abhav. Somber symbol. So what is the symbol? Eyeless. So what is this eyeless? He could have said blind. It's not blind. Blind is where either the sight has been snatched away or there is no possibility. But eyeless is, there is the possibility of sight. It's just that the eye has not been formed. It will evolve. First material sight, then we will learn to have an inner psychological sight, then subtle sight, then divine sight. So there is the possibility which is there in a state of eyeless muse. It is in a state of a contemplation, not knowing what is there to contemplate or what it is contemplating. And then we are told what it is. The abyss of the abysm of the unbodied infinite. Now once again, unbodied. It has to take a body. So you see everywhere there is this sense of something which has to be, wants to be, but is not there. So he is speaking of unbodied infinite. So infinite is there hidden, but he has to take on a body. So this is something, he describes the abysm. It is of course the night. And in the night we know that in dense night we can't see things around. So every day the same story, the truths are revealed to us in so many symbols. If one really is speaking, looks at life carefully, looks at just material existence carefully, add to it, one becomes conscious of the inner movements. One will arrive at the same profound truths which are there in the Veda. That's what Satyavan is. Satyavan is described as a Veda knower of the unwritten word. It is something he has learned. How he has grown into this Veda. Veda is the secret knowledge, the true knowledge, the ultimate knowledge. He has arrived at that. Simply because Satyavan has lived life so consciously, unwritten. Where is this Veda being written? It is written with matter. That's how Aurobindo later on describes. That he is writing his script on matter as with matter as sign. So all this will begin to, if you look at life from morning till night, and Aurobindo uses these images, the double twilight, the morning twilight when we are full of joy, effort, and that evening twilight when things are returning back to the state of night. So all this is this. If we just look at life, we will discover all this Veda which is there in the very story of creation. Once again, we have this: a fathomless zero occupied the world. So there is the world, but it's in a state which is not yet born. Zero. But this zero is strange. It is fathomless, meaning thereby there is in it something which we cannot know, cannot sense. So this is the original suffering, original cause of suffering. And Aurobindo describes this in Savitri much later, that where is the seed of pain? It is there in the inconscient. So people often say that in life, pain comes with life, and evil and suffering come with mind. But its seed is present in the inconscient, in the sense that in the inconscient there is the sense of complete separation from the divine. It's something like at night when people sleep, sometimes they feel very alone, and sometimes children, they scream. I had one patient, and the person says suddenly at night he screams and says certain things. So I said, what happens then? The lady says, I wake up. So what do you do? I simply, touch his heart and say everything is okay. Then he goes back to sleep. Now you see, he's right next to him. Somebody who is there to take care, who loves, and everything is there. But he doesn't know in that state. That sense of separation is precisely that. From the divine point of view, we are never separated. But there is the sense of separation which is there in the inconscient. The mother described this story, that from there the cry went up. And then the divine mother came with her love. And since then it's a journey of love, labor of love. And all of us contain something of that inconscient suffering, longing inside us. And all of us contain within us something of the divine love that Savitri is. This is the journey, everyday journey of all of us. There is no exception. There are no great sadhaks, lesser sadhaks, advanced sadhaks. Every human being has in him the divine love which is there laboring in the darkness. He is not aware. The difference is when you are not aware, then the suffering is terrible. Because you don't know that this divine love is with us. And it compounds, then we complain, we cry, and all this is there. Not that the Divine Mother ever abandons, but how much better when we know that she is there to support us, to carry us, to transform this darkness into light. It makes the journey so much more enjoyable. That's what in the Gita, when Arjun asks Sri Krishna, he says, you are making it sound too easy. You seem to be giving me a crash course in easy way to yoga. Just imagine, 2 hours. He tells him all about the highest possibility at that point of time. And he says, it's very simple. Remember and offer and know that I am with you. Dedicate your works to me. Do nishkam karma. Practice equanimity. And turn your discerning buddhi upward and inward rather than outward and downward. That's all you are required to do, Arjun. I'll take care of the rest. Become full of me. So Arjun says, sir, I have heard about tapasvis doing great tapasya. So you seem to be making it too easy. Are you sure? He says, yes, I am very sure of what I am doing. They also ultimately reach me. So what is the difference? They take a long and difficult path. You want to take it, your choice. But I am telling you a path which is not only simpler and easier, but a path which is full of delight. Because when you are doing tapasya all by yourself, imagine, this is the baby monkey. If you fall, you fall. and the other is baby cat. So Divine Mother has made it even more easier. People have this strange idea which I have never quite understood except as an action of some mental mumbo jumbo, that they feel, oh, it is very difficult. Of all the yogas ever given to man, yes, in its results it is most difficult, but Sri Aurobindo's own words are, if we look at the goal of the yoga, it seems the most difficult of all. And yet if we look at the method and the process, it's the easiest of all yoga. Because it just needs opening to the Divine Mother with faith, with aspiration. And these are Sri Aurobindo's words. And the mother also. She says all that is required. Champaklalji's mantra that she gave to him remains simple. Keep smiling. Do your work as quietly as you can. Keep yourself always open towards me. This is all that is asked of you. Remains simple. Mind complicates things so much. It weaves webs of pain. Where there is so much, the mind will exaggerate and then make life so complicated. Remain simple. Keep smiling. Smile in all circumstances. Why? Because Divine Mother is there. What is there to, that story of Martin Luther King, and he is all depressed, and one day his wife tells him, the latest news today, it flashed on national television. So what is it? He says, God is dead. How do you say that? Blasphemous statement. How can you say God is dead? He says, then why are you depressed? So suddenly, he never thought it like that. All depression is a sign of complete lack of trust in the divine. If divine is there, why should one ever be depressed? He is there, he will take care of us and the world. So we have to, of course, open to him, lean upon him. That's our job description. Divine has the real job description. So it is that labor of love which is going on in creation, in that state. A power of fallen, boundless self awake. So once again we have that what is hidden here, the boundless self above has come here. This is what is described in the Bhagavad Puran of Vishnu, Mahavishnu entering into the depths of the waters and lying there. So this is the superconscient which has hidden himself in the inconscient. And the mother had this direct experience. She has described it in 6 of her visions. One of them, it's in Cosmic Review where she used to write some of these things. Between the first and the last nothingness, so we know. There is the first nothingness where nothing made can live. It's beyond forms, beyond features, beyond name, beyond definitions, beyond descriptions. We can call it neti neti because nothing can describe it. But equally we can call it iti iti. See, this is very interesting that nothingness is everywhere, even in brain. I am so astounded. Sri Aurobindo in one of the places speaks about the pauses of the brain. So if you actually look at the image of the brain, how the currents are passing, it's just like a cinematic reel. There are pauses which we don't know. It is running too fast. So in the brain there are gaps between nerve currents passing. And there are little gaps. So everywhere you look at a cell, atom, you'll see these gaps are there. Something is happening. So this nothingness which is teeming with something which this creation cannot define or describe. So it is also iti iti. It is not only neti neti, it's also iti iti. That is the original nothingness. We may use the word nothingness, but it is the same thing. You may use the word Brahma Nirvana or call it as, the ultimate, that Purusha. It doesn't matter. These terms are not so important. But the original thing is that this is a state of nothingness because nothing, no human language can describe it. It's beyond that. That's how the Kena Upanishad describes it. Yan mansana manute yenahor manomatang tadeva brahmantvam viddhi nedam yadidam upasate. Mind cannot know it, reach it, but that by which the mind is known. Mind cannot know it. But if that is accessed or one lives in that, then one understands the mind. So that is the Brahman. So different languages are used, but essentially it is that original nothingness. But the same has hid here as its own shadow. So this becomes the other nothingness. Here everything is there as a hidden possibility. Everything. that eighth son of Aditi, the Martand, he is hidden here. The supermind is hidden here, right in the depth. That's why, as Shubinda describes later on, because it is hidden here, world is not a chaos. Along with the emergence, these little sparks which will become atoms, there is constantly a power impelling it to ultimately which determines its course. It's of course an amazing thing. That's why one cannot understand matter without understanding God. Because that is some original determining power. That's how in the Life Divine there's a whole chapter. Cosmic indeterminates. Why? What is it that is impelling the genes in a seed through all the so-called random accidents to turn to become that tree of which the seed is? So this is hidden inside. So there are these two nothingnesses between which creation takes place. Recalling the tenebrous womb from which it came, turned from the insoluble mystery of birth. So again and again there is an urge within it to take form and shape. Insoluble mystery. Of course the mystery will be solved here, but it's the description of that inconscious. Something impels it to be. That's why in Savitri later on, Savitri describes to be is not a senseless paradox. Since God has made earth, earth must make in herself God. To be is not a senseless paradox. So there is something which seeks to solve the mystery of birth. And actually every birth, if you look at the cycle of Punarjanma, we are approaching the same problem from a different angle. Unfortunately, most lives are gone even in understanding what the real problem is. We think our problem is job, my problem is somebody has a wife problem, husband problem, children problem. But this is not the real problem. Long it takes to just understand what the real problem is. The real problem is this abhav, which nothing can fulfill except that divine love. So this is the real mystery of birth. When Beethoven, someone asked the mother, Beethoven in his next life, what he will be? A still greater musician? I mean, he's among the greatest. So she says, no, who knows? He may come back as a shoemaker. It is approaching the same problem from a different angle. So all of us who feel very proud about this life and I am this and that, please, Beethoven can become a shoemaker. Don't despise a shoemaker. And don't underestimate the power of an ordinary man, because who knows? The common and the uncommon, the ordinary and the extraordinary always move together. And it is the lesson of life that sometimes extraordinary possibilities leap out of ordinary men in moments of crisis. And most seemingly extraordinary man collapse and fail in front of even the most commonsensical things. So in life, these two things go together. This idea of dividing life into this and that, we have to understand, as the mother says, we are entering an age where this and that, not this or that. So we have this touch and the tardy process of mortality. That's the problem. Ultimately, inconscient has to be transformed, but it's such a slow process. That's what Shubindu said. It's inevitable in the logic of things, the supramental change. So then why are you hastening it? Because that means how many times man will blow up the earth with atoms. So this is the problem. Playing with atoms, as he wrote in one of his poems, that man blew up the earth with atoms before God. He played with atoms and blew out the earth before God had time to shout. So 10,000 or million years, yes, it is bound to be, because it is inevitable in the logic of things. But that means so much suffering and pain and struggle in ignorance. Who knows, plan B, all the whales and dolphins in the sea. So much of waste that takes place. Mother says she foresaw the possibility of pralaya, and she describes it as the great flood. There is a whole passage, which is just like the deluge. And she sees it in a vision. She says, man is just not responding, yet another pralaya. But she says, I don't want it. It's so beautiful. The creator on earth saying, no, I don't want it. It means so much of waste. Everything has to be built from the Stone Age. Of course, we'll recover it fast. That's what we are seeing today. Somebody was asking, in Germany they are going to have 300 children together in artificial womb. So they asked my opinion. I said, this is ancient technology. We know Dhritarashtra and his 100 sons were born like that. So it's material. You can create bodies out of any which way. You know the process. You can build matter. No great thing in it. So what happens to the soul? Soul can take even that body. But the last we heard about it was Duryodhana's experiment. It didn't work out very well. So that's a different story altogether. So we are recovering a technology which is lost. That's how Aurobindo describes in the Synthesis of Yoga, that we are rapidly recovering in this age much that was already there in science, and we lost it. And so this happens after each pralaya. We go a step higher. But just imagine so many tens of thousands of years to reach a point and then collapse back. So the tardy process she does not want, and long to reach its end in vacant not, as in a dark beginning of all things. What a wonderful description. Beginning, darkness can be a beginning. It cannot be the end. So, as in a dark beginning of all things, a mute, featureless semblance of the unknown, repeating forever the unconscious act, prolonging forever the unseeing will. See, eyeless muse. Again, unseeing will. Why is speaking of eyeless muse? Because it's describing the mind of night. Here, the act. So it comes a will, which is unseeing. So earth is moving around and the planets are moving. Everything is in its mechanical motion. Just like when we wake up. I mean, many people, when they wake up, they don't know. They are rushing to the bathroom. They don't know why, what, for, and what is going to happen. Just when a person wakes up, ask him, what is the goal of your life? And he'll say, please don't disturb me. So this is how mechanical act. The same thing, story, habitually whatever we have done, that begins to happen. Cradle the cosmic drowse of ignorant foes, whose moved creative slumber kindles the suns and carries our lives in its somnambulist world. This is the description of the night. This is also the description of human life caught in the net of inconscience. That story, that king wanted someone to write the history of the world, and he wrote a history of the world taking 15 years, brought it on 15. Those were the days when donkeys, they got 10 copies. He wrote it on 10 donkeys, and the king said, 15 years are over. How will I read all this? Compress it. So he took another 5 years, 5 donkeys, 5 volumes. He said, already you see, now I am 75. Can you make it shorter? He said, okay, I'll come tomorrow. He says, I have studied history so much that I know now what to do. So he came. He said, where are the donkeys and the history? He says, I have got the wisdom. Men were born, they lived, they died. This is history. We want to take it. Now you see how our lives are caught in a mechanical flow. Everywhere, that unconscious act. That's why in one of our conversations, the mother so beautifully, she says, my child, you go to the samadhi, you do this. Do you even know why you are going there? Are you conscious of it? And she says, because I have told you, you just accept things. Are you conscious? So this thing that, for a long time, this unconsciousness cradles the cosmic drowse. In a way, it defends us against too swift an awakening to world pain. But at the same time, it holds us back into the folds of ignorance. There, consciousness is born. 3 lines, then we'll stop. On the next page, he spoke about this routine, mechanical movement. And then come these 3 beautiful lines. 4 beautiful lines on page 2. We are not reading line to line. It's a summary because that is already done. Very beautiful image. As if a childlike finger laid on a cheek, reminded of the endless need in things. The heedless mother of the universe, an infant longing, clutched the somber vast, material mother, heedless mother, rock solid, matter. It doesn't listen to anything. Just imagine that there is a little baby by the side. Mama, wake up. I need milk. Just imagine. Of course, mamas are awake, but just imagine that there is a kind of unconscious where they are sleeping and the child is reminding of the need in things. I need this. Who is to provide? She has to provide. So the heedless mother who is sleeping in that somber vast darkness, she suddenly wakes up. Why? Because there is an infant longing. This little infant will grow into the child with triple birth. But right now it's an infant pushing from behind, that little spark of the divine. There is something you have to do, something. And so she wakes up. The material mother wakes up, and then the great story begins and takes many different dangerous and charming and beautiful and delightful, all the various terms which will be described here. So we'll come back after 10 minutes and start again.